Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Stilettos echoed through the apartment as Keaton tentatively took his first steps. His girlfriend Isabella watched with a mixture of amusement and encouragement, her eyes sparkling with delight at the sight before her. "You're doing great, babe," Isabella said, suppressing a giggle as Keaton wobbled slightly. "Just remember to keep your weight on the balls of your feet." Keaton nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. The black patent leather pumps hugged his feet, the 4-inch heels making him feel both powerful and precarious. He'd always admired how effortlessly Isabella moved in her heels, but now he was gaining a newfound appreciation for her skill. "I don't know how you do this every day," Keaton said, his voice tinged with a hint of admiration and frustration. He took another careful step, feeling the stretch in his calves. Isabella approached him, her bare feet patting softly on the hardwood floor. She reached up and adjusted the wig they'd chosen together, a shoulder-length auburn number that framed Keaton's face softly. "Practice, honey. Lots and lots of practice." Keaton caught his reflection in the full-length mirror by the closet. The sight nearly took his breath away. The black cocktail dress hugged his body, accentuating curves he didn't know he had. Isabella had done an incredible job with his makeup, subtly contouring his face to soften his features. For a moment, he hardly recognized himself. "So," Isabella said, breaking him out of his reverie, "are you ready to go out, Cora?" Keaton, or rather Cora, hesitated. They'd discussed this role reversal date for weeks, ever since Isabella had noticed Keaton's growing fascination with her shoe collection. It had started innocently enough, with Keaton complimenting a new pair of pumps or asking about the comfort of certain styles. But as time went on, Isabella sensed a deeper curiosity brewing within her boyfriend. One night, after a few glasses of wine, she'd broached the subject. "Have you ever wondered what it's like?" she'd asked, gesturing to her stilettos kicked off by the couch. Keaton had blushed furiously, but couldn't deny the intrigue. And so the idea for this experiment was born. Now, standing in their apartment, fully dressed as Cora, Keaton felt a mixture of excitement and terror. I think so," he said, his voice softer than usual. Isabella beamed at him. "You look absolutely beautiful, Cora. And don't worry, I'll be right beside you the whole time." With a deep breath, Cora nodded. "Okay, let's do this." They made their way out of the apartment, Cora's steps becoming more confident with each passing moment. In the elevator, an elderly neighbor smiled at them. "You two ladies look lovely," she said warmly. Cora felt a rush of warmth at being recognized as female, even as her heart raced with the fear of being discovered. As they stepped out onto the busy city street, Cora felt exposed. The sun was bright, the sidewalks crowded with Saturday afternoon shoppers and diners. She clung to Isabella's arm, grateful for the support, both physical and emotional. "Where to first?" Isabella asked, giving Cora's hand a reassuring squeeze. Cora thought for a moment. "How about that little boutique you love, the one with the vintage dresses?" Isabella's eyes lit up. Perfect choice? They made their way down the street, Cora growing more comfortable with each step. She found herself observing the world from a new perspective, noticing the appreciative glances from men, the subtle nods of acknowledgement from other women. It was a world she'd never fully understood before, and it fascinated her. Inside the boutique, Isabella immediately began browsing the racks. Cora followed, running her fingers over the soft fabrics, admiring the intricate beadwork and delicate lace. An emerald green dress caught her eye, its silhouette reminiscent of old Hollywood glamour. "Oh, that would look stunning on you," the sales associate said, approaching with a friendly smile. "Would you like to try it on?" Cora froze, panic rising in her chest. She hadn't considered the possibility of trying on clothes. But before she could stammer out an excuse, Isabella jumped in. "Actually, we're just browsing today, but you're right, that dress is gorgeous. Maybe next time." The associate nodded understandingly and moved away. Isabella leaned in close to Cora. "You okay?" she whispered. Cora nodded, grateful for Isabella's quick thinking. "Yeah, thanks, that was close." They spent a bit more time in the boutique before heading back out onto the street. As they walked, Cora found herself relaxing more and more into her role. She even caught herself swaying her hips slightly, mimicking Isabella's natural gait. "You're getting the hang of it," Isabella said with a grin. "How about we grab some lunch?" They found a charming little cafe with outdoor seating. As they settled into their chairs, Cora crossed her legs delicately, adjusting her dress. She caught Isabella watching her with a mix of pride and something else. Desire, perhaps? The waiter approached, his gaze lingering on Cora for a moment longer than necessary. "Good afternoon, ladies. Can I start you off with some drinks?" Cora that cleared her throat softly. "I'll have an iced tea, please," she said, her voice pitched slightly higher than normal. "Make that too," Isabella added. As the waiter walked away, Cora leaned in. "This is surreal," she whispered. "I think he was checking me out." Isabella laughed softly. "Can you blame him? You're gorgeous." They enjoyed their lunch, chatting and people-watching. Cora found herself slipping more and more into her feminine persona, her gestures becoming more fluid, her laughter lighter. It felt natural, in a way she hadn't expected. After lunch, they decided to take a stroll through the nearby park. The afternoon sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the path. Cora's heels clicked rhythmically on the pavement, a sound she was growing to love. As they walked, Isabella linked her arm through Cora's. "So, how are you feeling about all this?" she asked softly. Cora took a moment to gather her thoughts. "It's incredible," she finally said. "I never imagined I could feel so comfortable like this. It's like I'm discovering a whole new side of myself." Isabella squeezed her arm gently. "I'm so glad. When I first suggested this, I was a little worried you might think I was weird or something." Cora stopped, turning to face Isabella. "Never. You've given me such an amazing gift today. I don't think I can ever thank you enough." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. Cora leaned in, her lips meeting Isabella's in a soft, tender kiss. It felt different from their usual kisses, softer, more sensual. When they parted, both were slightly breathless. "Wow," Isabella whispered. "That was... Yeah," Cora agreed, a shy smile playing on her lips. They continued their walk, both lost in thought. As they neared the edge of the park, Cora spotted a group of street performers, a small band playing upbeat jazz. Several couples were dancing on the grass nearby. Isabella's eyes lit up. "Oh, let's dance!" Cora hesitated. "I don't know... in these heels?" "Come on, it'll be fun!" Isabella tugged her gently towards the music. Before Cora could protest further, they were among the dancers. Isabella took the lead, guiding Cora in a simple two-step. At first, Cora felt awkward and stiff, but as the music washed over her, she began to relax. Soon, they were twirling and laughing, drawing admiring glances from those around them. As the song ended, Cora found herself breathless and exhilarated. "That was amazing," she exclaimed. Isabella beamed at her. "You're a natural. Who knew you had such moves?" They danced for a few more songs before deciding to head home. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the city. As they walked, Cora felt a mix of emotions. Joy at the day's experiences, sadness that it was coming to an end, and a growing sense of understanding about herself. Back in their apartment, Cora kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. "Okay, I'll admit it. These are killer after a full day," she said, massaging her feet. Isabella laughed. "Welcome to the world of women's fashion. Beauty is pain, as they say." Cora stood stretching. "Mind if I keep this on for a bit longer?" she asked, gesturing to the dress. "Of course not," Isabella said softly. "You look beautiful in it." They settled on the couch, Cora curling up next to Isabella. There was a comfortable silence between them, both processing the day's events. Finally, Isabella spoke. "So, what happens now?" Cora took a deep breath. "I'm not sure. This day, it's opened up something in me. Something I think has always been there, but I never knew how to express." Isabella nodded encouragingly. "Go on." "I don't think I want this to be a one-time thing," Cora continued. Being Cora, it feels right, like I'm finally being true to myself. Isabella took Cora's hand, squeezing it gently. I'm so proud of you for saying that, and I want you to know I'm here for you. Whatever you decide, whatever path this takes you down, I'm with you. Tears welled up in Cora's eyes. You mean that? With all my heart, Isabella said, pulling Cora into a tight embrace. As they held each other, Cora felt a sense of peace wash over her. The future was uncertain, but with Isabella by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. This day had been more than just a role reversal experiment. It had been the first step on a journey of self-discovery. The sun had set completely now, the city lights twinkling outside their window. In the soft glow of the living room lamp, Cora and Isabella sat together, talking late into the night about dreams, fears, and the beautiful complexity of identity. As midnight approached, Cora yawned, the day's excitement catching up with her. I should probably get changed, she said reluctantly. Isabella nodded, but there was a thoughtful look in her eyes. You know, she said slowly, there's no rush. If you want to sleep in that, or borrow a nightgown, that's okay. Cora's heart swelled with love and gratitude. I'd like that, she said softly. They got ready for bed, Isabella lending Cora a silky nightgown. As they lay together in the darkness, Cora felt a sense of rightness she'd never experienced before. She was on the cusp of something new, something exciting, and a little scary. But with Isabella beside her, she felt ready for anything. Good night, Cora, Isabella whispered, placing a gentle kiss on her cheek. Good night, Cora replied, snuggling closer. As she drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of a future full of possibilities. A future where she could be truly, authentically herself. The next morning, Cora woke to the soft light of dawn filtering through the curtains. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the feel of the silky nightgown against her skin. The events of the previous day came flooding back, bringing with them a mix of excitement and nervousness. Beside her, Isabella stirred. Morning, beautiful, she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. Cora turned to face her, a small smile playing on her lips. Morning, she replied softly. They lay there for a while, just looking at each other. There was so much to say, so much to process, but neither wanted to break the peaceful moment. Finally, Isabella spoke. How are you feeling? Cora took a deep breath, considering the question. Honestly, a little overwhelmed, but good. Really good. Isabella reached out, tucking a stray strand of hair behind Cora's ear. I'm glad. You know we can take this as slow as you need, right? There's no rush. Cora nodded gratefully. I know, it's just... Now that I've experienced this, I don't know if I can go back to pretending. Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense, Isabella assured her. And you don't have to pretend. Not with me, not ever. They got up slowly, the reality of the new day setting in. Cora stood in front of the mirror, taking in her reflection. The wig was slightly mussed from sleep, her makeup smudged. But even in this imperfect state, she felt more like herself than she ever had before. What do you want to do today? Isabella asked, coming up behind her and wrapping her arms around Cora's waist. Cora leaned back into the embrace, thinking. I think I want to stay like this, she said quietly. Just for today, is that okay? Isabella placed a soft kiss on her shoulder. Of course it is. Whatever makes you comfortable. They spent the day at home, talking, laughing, and exploring this new dynamic. Isabella helped Cora touch up her makeup, showing her techniques she'd perfected over years of practice. They went through Isabella's closet together, putting together outfits for Cora to try. As the day wore on, Cora found herself growing more confident. Her movements became more natural, her voice settling into a softer register without conscious effort. It was as if she was shedding a skin she'd worn for too long, revealing her true self underneath. In the afternoon, they curled up on the couch with mugs of tea, a comfortable silence settling between them. Cora was wearing a soft sweater dress of Isabella's, her legs tucked underneath her. Can I ask you something? Isabella said suddenly, breaking the silence. Cora nodded. Of course. Have you always felt like this? Like Cora was inside you, waiting to come out? Cora considered the question carefully. I think, yes, in a way. I've always felt different, like I didn't quite fit in my own skin, but I never had the words for it. It was just this vague sense of discomfort, of not being quite right. Isabella nodded encouragingly, and Cora continued. When I started noticing your shoes, your clothes, it wasn't just admiration. It was envy. I wanted to know what it felt like to walk in those heels, to wear those dresses, but I was scared to admit it, even to myself. And now? Isabella asked softly. Now I feel like I'm finally seeing the real me, like I've been looking at my reflection in a foggy mirror all my life, and someone's finally wiped it clean. Isabella's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I'm so happy for you, Cora, and I want you to know I'm here for you. Whatever you need, whatever steps you want to take next, I'm with you. Cora felt a lump form in her throat. Even if I decide I want to be Cora all the time? Especially then, Isabella said firmly. I fell in love with you, your soul, your heart. Whether you're Keaton or Cora, that doesn't change. They embraced, both overwhelmed by emotion. As they held each other, Cora felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead might be challenging, but with Isabella by her side, she felt ready to face anything. As evening fell, they ordered takeout and settled in for a movie night. Halfway through the film, Cora's phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Tom. Hey man, we still on for basketball tomorrow? Cora stared at the message, reality crashing back in. The outside world still existed, still expected Keaton to show up and play his part. She felt a moment of panic. Isabella, sensing her distress, paused the movie. What's wrong? Cora showed her the text. I don't know what to do. I'm not ready to tell everyone, but I don't want to pretend anymore either. Isabella thought for a moment. Why don't you tell him you're not feeling well? It'll buy you some time to figure things out. Cora nodded gratefully, quickly typing out a response. As she set the phone down, she let out a shaky breath. This is going to be harder than I thought. Isabella pulled her close. It might be, but you're strong, Cora, and you're not alone. We'll figure it out together, okay? Cora nodded, burying her face in Isabella's shoulder. They stayed like that for a long time, the movie forgotten, just holding each other and facing the future together. As they got ready for bed that night, Cora found herself reluctant to remove her makeup, to take off the clothes that felt so right. Isabella noticed her hesitation. You know, she said gently, there's no rule that says you have to go back to being Keaton tomorrow. Or ever, if that's not what you want. Cora looked at her, hope and fear warring in her eyes. But what about work? My family? Our friends? Isabella took her hands. We'll tackle each of those things as they come. For now, just focus on being true to yourself. The rest will follow. Cora nodded, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she knew she was on the right path. As she drifted off to sleep that night, still wearing Isabella's nightgown, she felt a sense of excitement for the future. A future where she could finally be her authentic self. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and discoveries for Cora. She and Isabella worked together to slowly build up a wardrobe for her, shopping online to avoid any awkward encounters. They practiced makeup techniques, experimented with different hairstyles, and spent hours talking about Cora's feelings and experiences. Cora started by being herself at home, gradually becoming more comfortable in her own skin. She worked from home for a while, using the excuse of a prolonged illness to buy herself some time, but she knew she couldn't hide forever. The first big step came when she decided to tell Tom, her best friend since college. They met at a quiet coffee shop, Cora dressed in subtle androgynous clothing. Her hands shook as she stirred her latte, trying to find the right words. Tom, there's something I need to tell you, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom leaned in, concern etched on his face. What's up, man? You've been Isabella for weeks. Is everything okay? Cora took a deep breath. I'm transgender, Tom. I've been living as a woman named Cora, and it feels right. It feels like who I've always been meant to be." There was a moment of stunned silence. Tom's eyes widened, and Cora felt her heart racing, preparing for the worst. But then, to her immense relief, Tom reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Wow," he said softly. That's big. But you know what? It kind of makes sense. You've always been different in a good way. I'm glad you figured it out." Tears welled up in Cora's eyes. You're not freaked out?" Tom shook his head. "Surprised, yeah, but freaked out? Nah, you're my best friend. That doesn't change just because you're Cora now instead of Keaton." They talked for hours, Tom asking questions and Cora explaining as best she could. By the time they left the coffee shop, Cora felt like a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Having Tom's support meant more than she could express. Telling her family was harder. Her parents struggled to understand at first, her father especially. There were tense phone calls, tearful conversations, and moments when Cora feared she might lose them. But slowly, with patience and love, they began to come around. Her mother was the first to use her new name, stumbling over it at first but trying her best. Her father took longer, but the day he called her sweetheart instead of son for the first time, Cora felt her heart might burst with joy. Work presented its own challenges. Cora was fortunate to work for a progressive company with strong anti-discrimination policies, but that didn't make the process any less daunting. She met with HR, then her immediate supervisor, explaining her situation and her desire to transition at work. To her relief, they were supportive. There were logistics to work out, changing her email, updating records, informing coworkers, but the company was committed to making her transition as smooth as possible. The day she walked into the office as Cora for the first time was terrifying and exhilarating. She'd chosen a simple black pencil skirt and a blue blouse, wanting to look professional, but not draw too much attention. As she made her way to her desk, she felt every eye on her, heard the whispers. But then Sarah from accounting stopped by her desk with a smile and a, "Love the blouse, Cora. That color really suits you." And just like that, the ice was broken. There were awkward moments, of course, people stumbling over pronouns, the occasional insensitive question, but overall her coworkers rallied around her, offering support and acceptance. Through it all, Isabella was her rock. She was there for every triumph and every setback, offering unwavering support and love. Their relationship deepened as they navigated this new chapter together. Isabella never made Cora feel anything less than beautiful and loved, even on the days when dysphoria hit hard and Cora struggled to recognize herself in the mirror. As the months passed, Cora began to settle into her true self. She started hormone therapy, watching with excitement as her body slowly began to align with her inner vision of herself. She found a support group for trans women, forming friendships that helped her feel less alone in her journey. Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.